From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxton Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the afternoon session of the June 11th, 2019 meeting. First, board to reconvene. First item is roll call.
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard. Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Next item is a report on actions taken in closed session. Before I go to County Council for a report on those items, I have a special announcement to make, and we don't get to do this very often. On behalf of my colleagues, I'm pleased to announce that while meeting in closed session on item 29 of this morning's agenda, the Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to appoint David Witt as the next chief of the Kern County Fire Department. As many of you are aware, Deputy Chief Witt, as he was previously known, was asked to step in as interim fire chief following retirement of Brian Marshall in February. For the last 6 months, Chief Witt has led the department very well, maintaining its overall effectiveness and providing crucial leadership on the business side of the department. It is not lost on us that he was asked to take on this role under very difficult circumstances, and we commend him for all that he has done and for all that he will continue to do. He's been with the department over 20 years, serving as deputy fire chief for 2 years prior to him being interim chief, and providing management over key operational functions such as support services, fleet, air support, heavy equipment, crews, and serving as incident commander on many local emergency incidents. Chief Witt is a Kern County native, attending local elementary and high schools before obtaining his bachelor's degree from Humboldt State. We are very, very privileged to have Chief Witt's outstanding leadership to continue this critical role as our fire chief. I want to congratulate him and ask him if he'd like to come forward and say a couple words. Chief? Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. This is an absolute honor to be given the opportunity to continue to lead over 600 men and women of this great organization with firefighters at 47 fire stations who protect nearly 1 million people in 8,000 square miles. This is a task I do not take lightly. The Kern County Fire Department faces many challenges today, including a fiscal deficit, an aging fleet, uneasy labor negotiations, and more. The one thing I am sure of, with everyone's cooperation, we will have the fire department in a healthy state again. The road ahead will not be an easy one, but is one I'm eager and excited to lead. The Kern County Fire is fortunate to employ some of the finest firefighters in the world who perform well in very dangerous environments. It's a true privilege to lead the great men and women of this organization. In addition to the current economic challenges, there are many other challenges that affect our firefighters. Some of these include a drastic increase in call volume, aging equipment, cancer in the fire service, line of duty deaths, line of duty injuries, heat illness, and post-traumatic stress disorder. We have an outstanding, steadfast workforce who face complex and challenging situations daily. It is my goal to maintain a safe environment for all. I am proud of the accomplishments of the department that we have achieved. It's the men and women of the Kern County Fire Department, past and present, who have made it what it is today. I enthusiastically accept the position of fire chief and look forward to leading our fire department. I will strive to keep communication open between the Kern County Fire Department, your board, the local 1301, the CEO's office, and the public. During my time as interim fire chief, I've appreciated the welcoming, cooperative working relationship I have had with your board, the county staff, and I'm confident that working together, we will bring the Kern County Fire Department to an efficient, effective, healthy state. And so thank you.
Take all the time you need to take a couple of pictures. You only get to do this once.
Chairman, I'd like to say something.
Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Chief Witt, I want to congratulate you and tell you that I have heard so many wonderful things about you from your rank and file, the men and women who serve you in the vision of protecting this county and its many, many assets. So I am really kind of stunned by that. I wasn't quite sure what I would hear from your people, who I have an excellent line of communication with many of them, and we speak confidently and openly about making this department all that we know that it can be and honoring what it already is, which is fantastic. But certainly improvements need to be made, and I increasingly have the utter confidence that you're the man for the job. Your people really believe in you. This board is excited about you. And so I am really grateful for the leadership and the institutional knowledge you bring to the table, but your willingness to lead in a different way that is necessary for this generation. And I'm just so pleased and grateful for you, and look forward to continuing to get to know you and being even more pleasantly surprised as we move forward. So the best of luck to you and to your department. We really care for you guys.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks for everybody.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Congratulations, Chief, and congratulations to the board on making such a great appointment. In the end, we take the credit for all this stuff, right? Now I need to turn to County Counsel Margot Raison for additional report on actions taken in closed session.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the board, as you know, you also met on items 28 and 30 this morning. However, there is no reportable action.
Okay, thank you. Now is the consent agenda. All items listed with a C or a CA above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. I'll tell you what the consent agenda consists of. It starts on page 2. It consists of items 3 and 4. On page 3, item 5 was on the consent agenda. It'll be taken off consent by staff. Item 6 is not on the consent agenda. Items 7 and 8 are. On page 4, all the items 9 through 13. On page 5, all the items 14 through 22, but 17 has been withdrawn by the department. Item 17 has been withdrawn by the department. I'm going to ask Mr. Pope to make a statement here in just a moment. On page 6, all the items 23 through 29. On page 7, items 30 through 36. Mr. Pope, could I get you to make a comment on 17? I believe, well, I won't tell you what I believe. You tell me what you know. Yeah. Start there.
Mr. Chairman, there have been some questions and concerns voiced about item 17, and instead of going through them here, we actually have a SWAMAC meeting on Friday morning, and we will flesh those out at that time. Okay. So we'll bring it back, a date uncertain at this point, but we will bring this item back to you later.
Thank you very much. So now is the time, if there's anyone here that would like to make a public comment on any of the items that I just read off that are on the consent agenda. Yes, ma'am?
I would like to make one.
Is it on a particular item?
Yes, on item number 8.
Could I get you to come forward, please? Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment on any of the items on the consent agenda or ask for any separate consideration of any items? Don't see any, so yes, ma'am. Could you give us your name and proceed?
Okay, my name is Tony Kirby. I'm the owner of the property in Weldon that is listed on there, and I object to the costs on it. That there was work that the county came in and did. It was in the process of being abated at the time. We had been working on it for about 6 months. There was a lot of it to be done. We had had people in there supposedly watching the property to keep squatters off because we had had to evict squatters. And instead, there's 2 mobiles and a garage. They had filled up one of the mobiles full of trash. And we had been pulling all of that out, working on the place, fixing it up. since May of that year, before the county came in. In fact, they had, part of what they were saying they had done is come in, and we had weed eated a week or two before they had come in and were charging, I guess they took a backhoe over it. I've got a lot of things here. I've had the neighbor that every time we would go to work on it, to haul trash out, would call the sheriff's department. I've got 5 or 6 of the notices from the sheriff's department here with me. There are many more times that he would call them and they would come out, and sometimes it's like, okay, go ahead, keep working. You've got until 5 p.m. to do it, and then you have to leave. Other times it's like, well, we don't know whether you own the property or not, so it'd be better if you just leave right now. There's many times I tried to get a hold of code compliance to trying to work with them. And,
Ms. Kirby, can I ask you a question?
sure,
At the very beginning of this, you said you objected to the cost,
yes.
but you've
They-
got a lot of other,
I objected to the county coming in and doing what they did to the property, because we had slowly been working on it. There was only so much we could do at a time.
well, there's a couple things we can do here. We can just take your comments, or we can have that item pulled for separate consideration and get more of a report from our staff. This is in District 1, I believe. Is that
Lake
correct?
Isabel area.
Yes. Supervisor Gleason, do you have a preference on which?
Yeah, I need to pull it because I need to have a better understanding of what you're objecting to, because I don't understand what you're saying, and I'd like to
Okay.
hear Ali say, present his argument. So I'd like to pull that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we're gonna hear item 8 as a separate item, not with the consent agenda. So when we finish with the consent agenda, we'll come back and do items 5, possibly 6, but I don't know that we're gonna get to 6 today because Supervisor Maggard is absent, and then we'll hear item 8.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment on any other item that is not on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I return it to the board for, yes, sir. Is that you, Mr. Lane?
This is an item not on the agenda. Should I wait or speak now?
That is coming up after
Okay.
we handle the consent agenda, but stay in the front row.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on the consent agenda, and I'd like to do so and also thank Code Compliance and Public Works for the additional work they've been doing up in the Kern River Valley. It's sincerely appreciated.
You have a motion on consent
Second.
and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. Supervisor Perez, you are right to, I don't know if what I just said was clear enough. Item 6 is the item that probably many of you were here for, and it is the item which is in response to a May 21st board referral regarding an update on the cannabis ordinance enforcement, a brief on the cannabis measure initiative scheduled for May 3rd of 2020, and alternatives to the cannabis initiative. Supervisor Maggard wanted to be here. He was called away to jury duty. If he is not here by the time we get around to hearing that particular item, we're going to defer that for 1 week. So it's very possible that he will not be here by the time we get to that. I'm just letting you know. If you want to stick around and wait and see, that's up to you. If you want to come back next week, which is the likely possibility, I want to make sure that you understood that. Thank you. Did we vote on the consent calendar? Okay. That brings us back to page 2 of the afternoon agenda. Under public presentations, this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter that's not on the agenda but is under the jurisdiction of the board. Mr. Lane. And any others that would like to speak, this is the time for you to speak to us about any item not on the agenda.
Chairman, can I ask for some clarification?
Sure.
I would like the public to know whether or not we are going to take public comment on the marijuana issue. Of course, I will not be here for that comment, but I do want clarification before the matter is called. If the public
sorry.
wants to say something about marijuana, should they do it under public presentations? If they can't be here in a week or whatever their particular limitations are, I want to accommodate that.
Well, it's still on the, here's the catch-22. It's still on the agenda. If Supervisor Maggard walks through the door prior to us getting to item 6, we're going to talk about item 6.
Okay.
My sense is he is not going to be here by that time. So I doubt we're going to take any public comment today on item 6.
Okay.
But it is on the agenda, so you're not really free to talk about it during public statements. It's kind of a, am I accurate, Ms. Rezon?
But if there are folks here that cannot come back next week, or your schedules are limited in any way, the public presentation, which is right now, is probably the best time for you to provide some input to this board. If it's regarding marijuana, I'm going to step out because I've recused myself from this issue. However, I think it's important that you understand that if item 6 is not heard today and you cannot come back next time, but you would like to say something for this board to think about, the public presentation time is the best time to do that. Because once the agenda item is called, if we're continuing it, we're not going to take public comment on it. And so next time you may not be able to be here for whatever reason, life happens. And so if you want to put something on the record and share with my colleagues some considerations, that now would be the time to do that.
Let's.
Or not. Is that not appropriate, Chairman?
I'm gonna ask that you all show some decorum. We're trying to get through a public meeting, and we would appreciate that. Thank you. Well, once we allow, here's the problem, and I'll just turn to County Council. Once we allow anyone to come up and speak about item 6 under public presentations, we have to allow everyone. That's what would be fair, correct?
Yeah, if you allow one person, then you would need to invite anybody else to speak on it as well.
And I think, frankly, from my perspective, you can disagree, and you are welcome to disagree, but it's more important and more impactful, I believe, for the board to hear your testimony during the time in which we hear the item, and not a week later.
Sir,
I agree
that's up
with
to
that
you.
assessment.
my question is, that's.
Sir, I'm sorry, sir. This isn't the time for, are we still in the public? Let me get you to come to the microphone and ask your question.
Sure, very simple.
Identify yourself with your name, please,
Fine,
so we know who you are.
thank you. John Trino. My question is, we're in a catch-22 here. If we leave and then you do it, we're not going to be able to be heard anymore. So if you say next week and I leave, or any of us do, and he does show up, which doesn't seem likely, will we get our chance again? It doesn't sound like it. That's my question.
You know what, you're right. I probably set up a bad scenario for you. So let's do this.
Chairman,
We're not, I'm sorry, Ms. Oviatt.
I totally apologize, Chairman Couch. I was waiting for you to call the item. I received numerous questions about this item, and I am not prepared today to present it, whether Supervisor Maggart shows up or not. I was waiting for you to, so I asked that it be continued to June 18th at 2 o'clock. That's my request.
Okay. Let me ask, how do we proceed with that? Can we finish public presentations and let's get to item 6, take it out of sequence? I can
Yes.
exercise that prerogative?
Yes.
If we go to item 6, do I need to open it up for public comment? Can we just act on?
Not based on what Ms. Oviatt just said.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Trino, thank you.
Okay?
Does anyone here that would like to make a comment on anything that's not on the agenda? We're still under public presentations. Yes. Mr. Lane.
I'm Eddie Lane. I'm not here to speak about cannabis, and I'm not here to give another pat on the back to Carl Brewer, who's done exemplary work with regard to Hart Park issues that have been so important to a whole lot of us. I am here to talk about Proposition 68. Last June, Proposition 68 was passed, $4 billion in the state for the state. And after that, several of us have been very active in, and I've been in Sacramento, been here to meetings with regard to following Proposition 68. One of the key components of Proposition 68 funding is collaboration with the local community. And what you do not have in front of you is a letter back in November from Bill Cooper and I, and we asked that there be a visioning process, that the county take the leadership role and develop a visioning process for potential Proposition 68 funds for Kern County. That was not done. And we were also told in public meetings that there might be $15 or $20 million available for park money for Kern County through Proposition 68. using Kern County funds as leverage. The track record up to now, and it's the second page that I provided to you, is the first 3 opportunities for grants from Proposition 68 where it's been competitive. The first 3, the county has submitted 6 applications, none have been funded. I think part of the reason is lack of collaboration. To be blunt, Kern County is losing out, and Kern County needs to be playing an active role with regard to getting those funds. There are 2 more applications coming up soon. The Kern River Parkway Foundation has offered to be a collaborator. We've not heard a response. So I'm asking that there be some directive that we get off the dime and get busy here with regard to Proposition 68 funding. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Any other comments on any items not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
How you doing? My name is Anthony Espandola. I'm here representing Boron. I'm Boron's new president of the Chamber of Commerce. We were under the same thought of Prop 68. We want to know if a grant's been applied for through the planning department, and if not, what could we do to get permission to start the grant process ourselves. We would like to see further development with Boron Park, maybe a water pad, maybe a better building, rehabilitation to that building. So that's all we were asking is if they had started it, that's awesome. If they haven't, we want to know, hey, can we step in? We would like to take advantage of that money. So that was all I have on that one.
Is it Espanola or
Espandola, E-S-P-I-N-D-O-L-A.
Thank you. Would you like to comment, Ms. Oviatt?
I would. CAO is lead on Prop 68 money because it's for parks.
Mr. Alsop.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I would, to both Mr. Lane and the gentleman that just spoke, the appropriate body to have these discussions with is the Kern County Parks Commission. They meet, they have a regular Prop 68 agenda, presentation, and discussion. And that would be the appropriate body for, any public comments that you might have. Really, in this case with Prop 68, even more important than coming here to the board, I think that's where the work will start. My park staff, Mr. Lane, by directive, I'm asking our park staff to coordinate with the Kern River Parkway Foundation on Prop 68 funding. So there you have it. There should be no confusion about that. And I would also ask Mr. Lane to work with the Parks Commission on his requests on these items. That's the appropriate venue. We're happy to work with you, and we're doing our best to apply for some of that money.
Thank you. Other comments under public presentations?
Good afternoon. My name is David Abbasi with the Central Valley Cannabis Association. I'm here today to talk about our ballot measure that we have qualified for March 2020. We have a ballot measure that is fair and equitable. It addresses the concerns of the community, the county, and we took input from the local stakeholders as well. Our ballot measure will stop special interest monopolies, prevent public corruption, protect safe access for veterans and patients. It has a reasonable tax rate, and it includes other aspects of the industry, not just retail. If we are to have a successful ballot measure and a successful set of regulations, we need to contemplate and implement all aspects of the industry, not just the retail side of it. If we are to feasibly and affordably provide medicinal cannabis for the local market, we need to have those other aspects like the distribution, the cultivation, the manufacturing in M1 zones, in agricultural zones, sorry, but seems like there's interruptions over here. So basically, what we're saying is we have already a ballot measure. We don't want to see the county split the vote. We don't want to see them interfere with the will of the people to have a chilling effect on our ballot measure by having something that would compete and be in direct competition with the people's measure. That's unconstitutional. It's unlawful for you at this time to put something forward that would be in direct competition with the people's measure. So that I just want to bring to your attention. And Ms. Kraus, I would appreciate it if they put the email I sent yesterday on the record regarding the options that the county has, the legal options. At this time, you don't have any. So we're asking that you please sit this one out, let the people decide this issue in March, and we have taken everybody's consideration, and we have something that works for everyone. Thank you very much for your time.
Are there any other comments that are not on the agenda? Thank you. Moving on to item 2, which is board member announcements and reports. Seeing none, I'll move on, and I'll exercise the chair's prerogative and hear item 6 before item 5. This is a response that I read before to a May 21st board referral regarding an update on the cannabis ordinance. Ms. Oviatt, you had a recommendation you mentioned earlier.
My recommendation is to continue to next week, June 18th at 2 o'clock afternoon.
You need a motion to that effect?
I'll move that.
I'm not sure you want to do that from what you've told me in the past. Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please cast your votes. Or cast your votes, even if you're not in favor.
The motion is approved. 3 ayes, 2 absent, Supervisor Maggard, Supervisor Perez.
Okay, so we're going to hear that item next week. Thank you. Bring it back to item 5, which is a public hearing regarding the County of Kern fiscal year 2019-2020 annual action plan for community development programs. Ms. Oviatt.
Chairman Couch, members of the board, I am pleased today to bring before you the, in accordance with the Department of Housing and Urban Development regulations, our action plan for fiscal year 2019-2020. This covers the community block grant money, the home investment partnership, and our emergency solutions grants. I know there's people here who want to speak. I'm going to have a few more comments. So the action plan does specify the projects. There's over $8.4 million, and we have broken it down. I wanted to highlight the fact that we now have 5 cooperative cities: California City, Ridgecrest, Shafter, Tehachapi, and Wasco. We are excited to have Wasco back as cooperating city, and they're doing a very innovative project to create an alleyway in the city of Wasco, a community garden walkway, which is going to enhance their downtown. There are many, all of these projects are important. There's over $400,000 that's being given to a variety of nonprofits for the homeless and the veteran services, but I'd like to highlight 2 unique projects. One is our Bell Terrace reinvention project, we'll call it, where we are putting, the Supervisor Perez is putting $400,000 of the community block grant allocation into reinventing that park. It is park-related improvements such as rehabilitation of the pedestrian pathways, canopy and shade for the playground equipment, upgrades to the restrooms. There are additional improvements that are being made through other sources of funds. Another unique project that we have is in the Linda Kissick Park. Kissack? Supervisor Kissick? Linda Kissick Park. This is a skate park. The community group has been working long and diligently for donations from the community to do this skate park. It's a 7,000 square foot skate park. The county is donating the land, and this includes everything. This additional money of $110,000 that is being allocated from District 1 will actually put them over the top and allow for the construction of the park. When you're ready, I have a recommendation, and I know there are excited people here who are very interested in letting you know what they think of these projects. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open it up to the public, and there's public already there. So state your name and
We
proceed.
magically appeared. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Again, my name is Arlena Waller. I'm a long-term resident, businesswoman, community leader, and influencer. I have Tiara King, who works with me with She Power, and also recently won Business of the Year for the Beautiful Bakersfield Award. The 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan and the CDBG put forth by the Planning Department are so vital to our county, especially those parts of the county that are desperate or that are in desperate need. At this time, I would like to share my gratitude to the entire board and appreciation to Supervisor Leticia Perez and the Planning Department for identifying projects and allocating CDBG funds to Bell Terrace Park. The CDBG money will go to improvements including pedestrians paths, installation of canopy, playground surfacing and upgrades, the same thing that she just mentioned. Supervisor Perez has publicly made this park and neighborhood a priority to improve the quality of life for the families that call that neighborhood home. As some of you may know, I grew up in that community, and I am so thankful that these community development projects are being funded, and I look forward to seeing positive transformations that will take place. From the new $40 million BCSD school, to the park upgrades, to continue MLK Boulevard, down from Brundage Lane to Casa Loma. Your commitment to this neighborhood will spark a much-needed community pride that is needed to make a positive impact in the lives of those that live there, especially the children. And truly the community as a whole. When that community wins, we all win. Thank you for your commitment to our community that's often part of the data, but not part of the dollars. I'm very appreciative. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Supervisor Perez would like to jump in there.
Just briefly, Arlene, to Arlena and Tiara, I am so excited to be partnering with you on this project. This is serious. Our investment this year of CDBG, of course, is just the foundation. We have another $250,000 of our park money that we're devoting exclusively here, and then my next round of CDBG I want invested into this community as well. And so I am really excited about the community coming together, how grateful I feel everybody is, and so the right spirit is really leading this process, one of unity, right, one of community building, and these funds, community development block grants, community development, that is the essence and spirit of those funds. Develop the community. We know that good people are there, people who want to work and want access to upward mobility. But we have to develop that community by the built environment, by opportunities to work, because I've talked to many, many people in that community desperate for work. And we're going to be closing that gap on the skills gap side, as well as mentoring young boys in that community, which we know is long overdue. And as you said, something that will benefit the entire community, especially when we do it in a unified front, and focusing on these young boys and what incredible investments they will make into Kern County when they become, whatever their little hearts desire. So hats off to you. God bless your work, and it's a privilege to work with you. So, and Lorelei, for all of your unrelenting support and brilliance in making these things happen, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Well, to start off, I too would like to congratulate you. I grew up in that area, lived there from 55 till 73, so congratulations. My name is Karen Williams, K-A-R-E-N-E. I'm from Lake Isabella. With me today I have Ruth France from Bodfish and Teresa Contreras from Weldon. We are obviously in support of the skate park that's going to be built in the Linda Kissick Ballpark. It's hard to believe that it's been 3.5 years since Supervisor Gleason and then Parks and Recreation Director Bob LaRude came to the Kern River Valley to introduce the idea of a skate park in Lake Isabella. At that time, several of us volunteered to work with California Recreation Foundation to raise the construction cost. We met with the Parks and Recreation Board to name the skate park George and Darlene Randall Skate Park. Sadly, Darlene passed away March 29th, so she did not see the skate park come to fruition. Our fundraising through donation jars in businesses, rummage sales, raffles, donated rafting trips, and more has raised just under $91,000 in cash, pledges, and in-kind materials and services. Funds from a community development block grant will make this dream a reality. Outside of the school setting, the youth of the Kern River Valley have no sanctioned place to meet with their friends and participate in an activity that provides a great cardio workout. The skate park will fill this void, and our youth are anxious to see it completed. On behalf of the skate park volunteers, California Recreation Foundation, and the residents of Kern River Valley, I want to thank everyone who helped with this grant application. You will all be invited to attend the groundbreaking and ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you move to my district, please?
No.
Keep up the good work. Vic, those are fighting words, huh, Vic?
No, you may not. Is there anyone else here that would like to make a comment on this item? Seeing none, I return to the board for questions, comments, and we'll probably turn to Lorelei for a motion.
I'm making a motion right now.
On the staff's recommendation?
Yes, sir.
I'll make the second very excitedly and
Good.
gratefully.
You have any comment, Ms. Oviatt?
The motion is as on the agenda.
Okay. You have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Maggard.
That takes us to the end of the afternoon agenda, and just need a motion to adjourn to, I'm sorry, ma'am. There you are. We needed to hear item 8, which is a protest hearing on a proposed confirmation of costs incurred for a nuisance abatement work located at, is it 5608 Isabel Drive in Weldon? Why don't we hear from our staff first, and then we'll ask you if you have a response.
Okay,
or
can I
a
say,
comment.
I would just also like to thank this board for the skate park in Lake Isabella.
Okay.
As a teacher up there, I've been a teacher and I've had kids grown up there, and I think it's one of the best things that's happened up there in a long time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Renan, afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes. Good afternoon, Chairman Couch and members of the board. This item is requesting your board to conduct a hearing to confirm costs associated with abatement work that has been completed by the county at 5608 Isabel Drive, Weldon, assessor's parcel number 426-11405. The property is owned by Bruce Lee and Anderson and Tony Kern Kirby, which was determined by this office to constitute a public nuisance under Kern County Code Chapter 844, and in violation of several county code ordinances. The property owners were notified that a public nuisance existed on the subject property and were provided a description of the nuisance. The owners of the subject property were given a reasonable time period to abate the nuisance and were notified of their right to appeal. The property owners failed to comply with several notices and orders which were mailed to them on March 7, 2018 and June 1st, 2018, and were posted on the subject property on March 12, 2018 and June 11 of 2018. A final notice was sent to the property owners on July 20th, 2018, and was posted on the property on July 23rd of 2018, to which there was still no effort on the property owners to abate the nuisance. Therefore, Public Works Department abated the nuisance in accordance with Kern County Ordinance Code Chapter 844. The notice and orders to the property owners informed them that if they failed to abate the nuisance, and the county was required to abate the nuisance, all costs associated with the abatement would be assessed against the subject property and could be collected as a special assessment on the tax bill. On or around October 28, 2018, abatement work was done at the property by the county. The work which was done consisted of securing and boarding doors, windows, and openings, removing trash, junk, and debris from the exterior of the property, and cutting, trimming, and clearing excessive vegetation. A notice of protest hearing of the proposed confirmation of cost for nuisance abatement work statement and verified expenses was prepared for this project, showing a total cost of $5,109.60. Included in the notice of protest hearing was a statement that your board would consider these costs at today's hearing. This notice of protest hearing was mailed to the property owners on May 10th, 2019, and was also posted on the subject property on May 16th, 2019. Staff has reviewed the environmental effects of this enforcement action and has determined that enforcement action is exempt from further CEQA. This concludes staff comments. We are available to answer any questions you may have, or you may want to open the hearing and listen to the owner or the owner's representative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, thank you. Any questions before I open it up? Seeing none? We'll open it up to the public, please.
Okay, yeah, we did get, actually it ended up with a red tag on it. We have had nothing but some problems with the property itself. And they had put a red tag on it because the water company had came and removed the water main. They said it was inhabitable because it didn't have water. We are still actually dealing with the water company on that because they wanted $5,000 of past bills that were not with the property when we bought the property. It is the water company there has had quite a few problems. It's Tradewinds Water. I know they've got a lot of other people out there with issues with them. So I haven't got the water turned on yet, but we did have, we had been out there clearing it. We had been working on it. We had, when we first got the, when we first got the property, there was squatters on it. It took over 6 months for me to be able to evict the squatters. So then I had, it needed a lot of work. I had some people go in there to stay, to watch the property because of squatters and supposedly doing work. The way the property sits, there's one large mobile home that is a residence. There is a garage on the back, and then on the side there is a small mobile home that I guess was like a mother-in-law's house. The people that we had in there had filled up the mother-in-law's house with trash. We had been, from March or April, we had started clearing it out. People in the neighborhood had also dumped stuff in there. We were taking as much as possible out at a time. On the trash, we were taking it truck and trailer loads out on a regular basis. I had talked to the code compliance gentleman a couple of times before June. In June, when I had tried to call him after that, he would never return a call because I was trying to get an extension because we had a lot of work to do on it. We had, the larger house did not need windows and stuff boarded up. It had doors on it, it had windows, it had one broken window that I had not fixed because we had been going inside also doing repairs to make it livable on it. The smaller house we had been, it had a couple of places that were not boarded up. We had boarded up most of the windows ourselves already. We couldn't completely board it up because we were still hauling trash out of the inside of that thing. It was 3 or 4 feet deep. I couldn't believe it myself, but we were trying to pull everything out of that. I had been leaving messages with the code compliance and not getting any return phone calls. That I also do not see where they were talking about excessive vegetation and weeds at the time. I had been in there just about a week before that, a couple of weeks before that, with a friend of mine who had weed eated what was left in the front of it. It is a half-acre lot, so it's pretty large. It is a pretty large lot. And then they had come out and put another tag on it, which was on an old pickup truck that was sitting there that we hadn't hauled off yet. And they put the red tag on this, and this was during the time I was having trouble getting a hold of the gentleman from Code Compliance. And so I'm thinking, okay, everything's fine, but he wants his truck out of here. The truck was gone out of there within not too long after the tag was put on that, and we just continued. We had, at the point in October, what we had left out there is the front was completely cleared, the sides were cleared. There was still a little bit of stuff behind the one trailer, as there was a mattress and a couch back there. And we had also been, as we're pulling trash up, we have found where the people that had previously owned it had been burying all of their trash. So we were pulling a lot of that out of it too. One thing that did hold us up some with going out there is every time we would go out there, we would end up with a sheriff showing up wanting to know what we were doing there, were we trespassing, and stuff. Sometimes, as I had stated earlier, sometimes they would allow us to stay. Sometimes it's like, well, if you don't have proof with you that you own your property, it might be better to come back later when you do have the proof and stuff. So also during the summer, Bruce, who's also part owner of it, had ended up in the hospital for a while, which put us back some. And I know some of it, there was a couple of windows that still needed to be boarded up. I have been trying to work with the county on all of this. And then when I saw the bill that had been there, it was just, for what they had done, I cannot see where the expenses on the bill would even come from for that, because there was, they boarded up the house, which did not need boarded up because it had windows, it had doors. They were not all broken out windows and broken out doors and stuff on it at the time. In fact, we were going in and out trying to fix on it. I have not gone in to do anything with it since, because everything is boarded up, and I do not want to, violate anything by going on there, even though it is my own property, to see what I can do about fixing it up and getting it livable, because I would eventually like to move out there. I don't know if there were pictures or not when he first put the red tag on it to where how it looked when the county came out and did the work on it. But if there are pictures of both times, there is a dramatic difference in both of them. It was just taking us some time because it is, along with the time and effort to do it, there's also the cost of gas and stuff, hauling stuff to the dump and things that way that I've got to budget in, and there's only so much of it to go around. I think I've covered most of my notes on it here. I do have some of the sheriff's reports here, even from where they were called. I went and got those yesterday. And a lot of times it was the neighbor next door that was calling the sheriffs every time I'd see somebody there, and I don't blame him. There were squatters in there when we got it. The place is a mess, and the people that we did have watching it, from what we found out, probably weren't the best of neighbors. So he was going to make sure nobody came onto the property at all. But that did hinder us and slow us down some. But we were continually making pretty good progress on it. We were just unable to, and like I said, I had called Code Compliance a few times and left messages to get extensions and stuff to get to where I received no return phone calls at all.
Did you email anybody?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I probably should have emailed, but I had made phone calls. I am still not quite sure, besides having the water turned on, because when they first came out there, they said it was trash and debris in the water and stuff. And I'm not sure what it was that, what else I need to do now to get the tag off of it, besides turn the water on and things with it, so.
Does that conclude your statement?
That concludes my statement, yes.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to make a public comment on this item? I don't see any, so I'll return it to the board for questions, comments, action.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Gleason.
You should get, I did miss your name. Could you say it?
Tony Kirby?
Kirby, Ms. Kirby. Ms. Kirby, thank you very much for coming in today. I appreciate it. My question goes first to you, Mr. Anand. How long does this process go that we go through? A standard process begins at what point, and how many iterations do we go through, and how many notices do we put out?
Supervisor Gleason, through the chair, this particular property, we initiated this notice back in February of 2018. Ms. Kirby is correct. She did comply with the initial notice back in April of 2018. Thereafter, we received a complaint stating that people have returned to the property and are attempting to occupy. And at that time, our code compliance went back there to the property. We served a notice and order to the owner, informing them the violation came back, so we reopened the case again. And we gave them an opportunity till September. From April till September, no action was taken according to our record. So we had to take appropriate action. We gave them more than enough time that is required per our Code of Building Regulations. And since we did not receive compliance, we went out to bid. We got 2 bids. Typically, we go out to get at least 3 bids. In this case, the 3rd bidder did not submit the bid. So we got 2 bids, one in the amount of $4,300, and the other one is in the amount of $7,500. So obviously, we went with the lowest bidder, and we awarded the contract. Based on our record, again, we have given the owner more than enough time, and typically we do work with the owner to have them abate the properties, but in this case, it just took too long time, and we had to take action.
Thanks, Don. Talk to me about the. Did you get phone calls and you did not respond to them? Are you aware of those?
At that time, I was not in the office. I did not.
Was there any record of those phone calls?
Not to my knowledge.
Talk to me about the red tag on a truck. Ms. Kirby said there was a red tag placed on the truck, and she moved the truck.
The truck that, to my knowledge, the truck that was on the property was inoperable, and it was red tag to be removed.
And so she complied with that red tag, but not the red tag on the property.
I believe she did, yes, according to our record, but not to abating the nuisance that existed at that time.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work that you've been doing up there. We're turning a new leaf in the Kern River Valley, and I'm sincerely appreciating that. And I think, Ms. Kirby, that you were given enough notice to clear the property, and so I think what the process we went through is fair and reasonable, and I'm going to make a motion to support staff's recommendation.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Before she leaves, could someone at least speak with her and talk to her about steps she could take to either pay this to you or how this process will play out?
Yes, Chairman Cash, we'll
Thank you very
talk to
much.
her. Thank you.
You have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Maggard.
Don't leave today without speaking with him, please.
Thank you.
That takes us to the end of the agenda. I need a motion to adjourn to Tuesday, June 18th at 9 a.m. So, without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you.